It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Flying down from Nova Scotia today.
This nation was founded by men of many nations and backgrounds.
I have a dream that all men are created equal.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
What's up, Doom Nation? We are back again. As always, it is Skaggs and the Captain, and you are listening to the Two Doom Men podcast. What's going on, Doom Nation? Skaggs, how you been? And we got a special guest, everyone.
Yes, sir. I am good. We are joined today by Katillist Jones. Why don't you introduce yourself and your show? You are from the Wh1te Rabbi7 Podcast. What's up, man?
Wh1te Rabbi7.
Yes, sir. I am Katillist Jones, the host of the Wh1te Rabbi7 Podcast. I am also the one that drops those fire memes on your ass so that you can red pill your liberal friends.
So quick before we get into anything, all those memes and videos and stuff that you share. So Skaggs' cousin, we have we text every day back and forth, and he sends me countless TikTok videos, memes, conspiracy theories. And the other day, just a full stream of Wh1te Rabbi7 conspiracies. And I was like, and he was just over here just like 2-3 hours ago. I was like, Ant, you're never going to believe who's coming on the show today. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, you know, that guy Wh1te Rabbi7 that you've been sending me for the past 2 days? He's like, yeah. He's great. I was like, he's coming on the show tonight.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad that people are seeing it. I try to mix a little humor in with some red pilling, you know?
Yeah, of course, man. You have to do that. You have to, be humorous and be funny. We can't just be miserable warriors.
Welcome to our world. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, we try to make fun of it.
It does get miserable at times, though. I'm not gonna lie. I do have my black pilling moments where I think that we're all doomed and nothing is good gonna happen. But I always pull myself out of that hole.
Yeah, I always say, like, man, like I'm happy doing the podcast. I love what we've managed to do in the past in just short 3 years. Doesn't even feel like we've been doing it for that long. But like, boy, if somebody was to ask me, like, should I look behind the curtain? I don't know, man. I once you look behind the curtain, there's no going back, and you just see how dirty and filthy and corrupt it really. And it's like, once you see it, you can't unsee it, man. And it'll weigh you down. It'll weigh you down for sure.
So difficult because it's hard to just enjoy like the normal things that you used to enjoy. I can't watch a movie without seeing symbolism in the movie. I can't watch a football game without being bombarded with Pfizer commercials and all this garbage down your throat. Once you see it, you're right. There's no going back. You can't unsee what you've already seen.
Yeah, definitely. That's happened to me definitely big time in the past year. Like certain things I used to really be into, I'll watch them, I'll look at them, and I'll just be like disgusted or just turned off. Like I don't have that passion anymore, especially like you were just saying with football. I still love the Giants, we'll go to the game and whatnot, but just, I don't know, just like the events of the past year or two and like just getting red pilled, I guess, has like changed my drive to like want to do that stuff. Hard to really put into words or explain. Like you're saying when you watch a movie, like, you know what's interesting? There's a new World War II in color documentary that came out on Netflix, and I love World War II just stuff. But like as I'm watching it, I'm now just way more red pilled about everything that happened. I'm like, oh, this is bullshit. Oh, this is bullshit. I can't just enjoy it the way I did back when we watched the first one, Chris. Remember when we first started the podcast? We did a little review of it. Yeah. That's
it's because back then you were going on somebody's journey and now you're along for the ride, but you're questioning everything that they're saying because you're like, hang on a minute, I know something that doesn't quite add up right here. So and it does suck, but at the same time it doesn't suck because I think that it's people like you guys and it's people like me that are awake. And we're living in this time for a reason. I truly believe that because we could have lived in any other time in history, and this is the time that we're living in. And you got to admit, this is some pretty crazy, cool times to be living in. It sucks, but it's also pretty amazing.
You just out of nowhere, you become this digital soldier, as they say. and you start throwing these memes out and red pilling people, and and then you end up with a show for the past couple of years, just trying to do, everybody has their role, and our role just so happens to be the mouthpiece, the, hey, look over here, look over here.
Yeah, I saw an interesting meme on like the Liberty Twitter guys were circulating, and it was some left-wing person like, oh, you really think you're gonna make any difference by sharing memes? And it was like the Chad guy, and he's like, the founding fathers and the revolutionary soldiers, they like spread the message by like sharing pamphlets with each other in the bar. It's essentially like the same thing. It's just, we're a little bit more technologically advanced, different method. But yeah, like you can make a huge difference by like sharing a pamphlet in a bar. A pamphlet in a bar nowadays could be a meme on Twitter or a meme on Instagram or whatever,
Yeah. And I love it when people will be like, oh, where did you get that information from? A YouTube video? And I'm like, oh, how did you change the distributor in your car? A YouTube video?
Yeah, that's true, right? I fixed so many things in my car with the YouTube video. But even that's a bullshit argument, because they could be like, oh, you got it from YouTube. And you could be like, okay, fair enough. The person I got it from on YouTube is not an expert. But then you can get an expert who goes on YouTube or Spotify, like, Dr. Malone, right? And then if you bring that up to somebody, they'll be go, oh, well, that not that expert, not that person on YouTube. It has to be the government approved expert on YouTube. So that's just like a circular logic that makes no sense.
Yeah, I love it though, because there's nothing that you can't find on YouTube, and it's getting a lot harder to find nowadays. But I mean, like 4 years ago when I was going down the flat earth rabbit hole, man, that was so much fun, and there was so much information back then. And when people ask me now, oh yeah, well, what about this? And I'm like, oh, I know exactly what video. You go to look it up and it's gone. You cannot.
So YouTube is censoring the flat earth community as well now? Like there's just no boundaries?
That was one of the main things that they started with the initial censorship was flat earth.
Wow.
Interesting.
Only just to add more to your guys' argument.
I mean, like, what would you gain from censoring that other than, I mean, if it's not true, what harm does it do for people to even think this? It doesn't do any harm. So it's not like censoring this is like stopping people from blowing up a bridge or something like that. You know what I mean? It's not. I don't understand where their logic comes from. So it only tells me that we're over the target.
Yeah, it's it's definitely a possibility. The way I look at stuff like that, like at flat earth theory or a whole bunch of other things we're going to talk about tonight, is whatever you believe in, is that going to affect me in any way? Are you
do my taxes go up?
Right. Do my taxes go up? Are you holding me at gunpoint to believe what you believe? No. Okay, then believe what you believe, and I'll if we want to talk about it, want to discuss it, I'm all ears. But as long as your ideology, as long as whatever you believe in is not like, hey, that person being me has to do or believe what I believe, I don't care what you believe. I'll talk to anybody about it because I like talking to people and I find it interesting. So when you're talking about stuff like when we did an episode with Flat Earth Dave. I don't know if you're familiar with him, Kat.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I'm actually trying to get him on my show.
Oh, do it. That was a fun episode.
It was fun, but they did put a disclaimer right on the episodes, like, right on the front of the thing, like about the flat earth theory, linking it to, I think, Wikipedia about it, of all places. Like Wikipedia is a, like a great place of actual true information. It's not, it's edited by any random person. So yeah, I saw a little bit of it, but that video is up there,
Nice. That's on YouTube.
Yeah, on our YouTube.
Yeah,
It's one of our most popular episodes ever. He was really entertaining.
He's very knowledgeable, and I love how he shares screen stuff, because it's so much easier to show people than just hear them. I can
at it. Yeah.
Oh, the Earth curvature is blah 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 blah. But when he has those things that the visual aids, it really hits home. And especially the brainwashing that goes behind it. If you can make people believe that the Earth is flat, then what can't you make them believe?
Yeah, definitely. I get it. I get you. Definitely.
I mixed up what I said, but yeah,
I know what you meant. I know what you meant, though. Yeah, like if you can convince somebody, change their mind or wake them up with something. Definitely. I still personally don't believe it, but like I said, I'm all ears to like listen to what people think and what they believe in. Like I said, if the way I look at everything is like, okay, like what's the difference between somebody who is Catholic and really believes in that, or someone who believes in flat Earth theory? It's just a belief either way. As long as you are not trying to impose your will on me by force, I don't care what you believe, whether it be Catholicism, flat Earth theory, Islam, whatever. If you want to believe anything, it's up to you. It doesn't matter to me. What are you trying to say, Cap? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that the most interesting aspect of flat Earth is if it does come out, and the Earth is flat, whatever. It's 100% undeniable. Tomorrow's still Tuesday. Tomorrow we also have to go. Like, the world has ran, whether the Earth is flat or a globe. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. Obviously we've been live.
I see where you're coming. I see where you're coming from, but let's just say that 120% evidence came out tomorrow that the Earth is flat. Wouldn't that change the way that you think about the world? And that would change the way that everybody in the world thinks about the world. And then you wouldn't think that you're insignificant and just put here by chance. You know that there was a creator, and you would know that you're here for a purpose. So it would totally change everything.
Good perspective. Yeah, I think it would change stuff, but I still feel like we've made it this far, whether it's flat or round. You know what I mean? Like, I think a couple of things would still stay the same. There's so many people. Look at like politics, though. Like, so many people have their heads buried in the sand that, like, even though they could be found out that, like, they were lying tomorrow.
I'm sorry, my internet was going a little crazy there. I heard what you said, though, Cap. You guys were frozen for a second, but
I totally agree with everything that you said right now, and I do believe that it is a little bit of kabuki theater, even with Trump. And it very well possibly could be that we've all been lied to. And I'm wearing a Q hat right now, so I dive down that rabbit hole as well. But at the end of the day, all that matters is that it woke enough people up to actually get out there and try to make it sense.
Yeah, of course, man. That's the most important thing. That's why I love like the Patriot podcast group that we have and whatnot. Like, everybody might be a little bit different of a vibe and believe in different things or whatever, but everybody's mad cool. Like that whole insurrection party we had the other day, that was dope. That was a great time. You were like the first person now that we're having on since then, just because of one of the comments you made on the episode. I really wanted to like talk to you about, because it was just interesting. But just because people believe different things or might come from a different vibe, that doesn't mean you're like not a nice person or not a cool person to chill with. Like, you seem like a really cool dude, like soft-spoken, nice person. So thanks for coming on with us again, bro.
Definitely. It's an honor to be on your show. I've been following
thank you
since before I started my podcast. So
okay. That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're flattering us there.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd call hanging out with me and Chris an honor.
Honorable thing to do. Yeah.
but I appreciate it. So let me get into one of the first questions I wanted to ask you. Like, was basically one of the things you mentioned on our insurrection party was, I think you made a comment about how dinosaurs, you believe that like dinosaurs weren't real, right? That was you, I think, right?
Well,
So
that was also Big Country from Whiskey, Beer, and Conspiracy as well. And there's actually no evidence out there whatsoever that dinosaurs ever existed. It was just a money grab at the time. And if you look, there is actually no fossils that we've been able to examine. And if you go to any of these museums where they're supposedly showing you dinosaur fossils, you can ask them when you're there, and they will straight up tell you these are not the actual dinosaur fossils. They've been modified. And for some reason, even paleontologists are not allowed to see the actual physical dinosaur bones. So, and when it came out about dinosaurs, it was only like a small period in time, right? So nobody ever dug up dinosaur bones before, like, what was it, the 20s? I might be butchering this.
Yeah, I heard something similar to what you're talking about, that like the first guy to find dinosaur bones, he found them like not too long ago, like maybe the 20s or the 30s, and then no one found anything before that, and then all of a sudden everybody started finding them.
Right, once they found out that it was a cash grab. So it's, the whole thing is a hoax. And just the fact, if you look at like a T-Rex, it's not proportionate. Like, there's no way that an animal can walk around like that and function. It's just not possible.
What do you think? First of all, I was really just interested in this because I just love dinosaurs ever since I'm a kid. Like,
oh, me too, brother. I loved space too, so it's like, stab me. I loved Santa Claus also, so stab me in the heart again.
Like, I loved Jurassic Park, and I had the dinosaur telephone and all those crazy toys, Legos, dinosaurs, and whatnot. So it's just like an interesting thing. What do you think is like the motive, like the reasoning why people would look to like deceive everybody with something like that. That is a good point what you brought up before. I never thought about that before, that dinosaur, like most skeletons or bones haven't been discovered. We're all just like discovered recently, like the 20s or whatever. Maybe I could look it up in the meantime, but I didn't even really think of that. That's a good point. So what do you think is like the reasoning or the method, like why, the why behind it?
I think it would also go back to flat Earth, but there's also probably motive due to monetization. And if you look at both of the paleontologists that were neck and neck on finding different species, so to say, they were both Freemasons. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with,
Yeah, I'm a little familiar with them.
We should have a Freemason or secret society episode eventually, because I don't know much about it, but the Freemasons pop up everywhere. And there's a Freemason that lives up the street from me.
Oh, nice. I actually have a 33-degree Mason that has asked me about 3 times to come on the show to debate me. But I'm going to have him on, but I want to be prepared and ask him some really hard questions.
Yeah, definitely, man. You should do it. But yeah, of course, you gotta be prepared. So I mean, a quick Google search here. Says in 1677, Robert Plot is credited with discovering the first dinosaur bone. He was a professor at Oxford University. This is coming from discovery.com, like, Discovery Channel, I guess, .com. So I don't know. That's what
So it was in the 1600s when the dinosaur.
So then I guess it's
1677 is what it says. The guy is the first one credited with discovering the first dinosaur bone.
Yeah, see, I don't trust anything past the 1800s because we can't. There's no actual physical documentation of anything past that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's definitely a good point. Saying that he believed it to be a giant human bone.
nice.
So, yeah.
Interesting. Well, there is those as well. I mean,
giants.
Well, yeah, that I definitely believe is true. That like there were different like branches of the human species or Homo sapien species, and some were just larger. I mean, literally, Neanderthals were similar, obviously similar to humans, but they were just like larger versions of more barbaric versions of humans. Yeah.
Well, that's if you believe in evolution.
Yeah. Right. That's a whole nother. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
No, we are definitely have been created. If we came from a monkey, then why are there still monkeys?
Yeah,
true.
It's a good point. It's a good point. Yeah, I'm just it's like branch theory, I guess it's called, or something like that. That's certain they weren't necessarily monkeys back then themselves. They were a different species as well, and they've just changed over years. Again, I'm not an evolutionary expert or anything like that. That's just
I'm not either. If I was an evolutionary expert, I would be able to tell you how a wolf and a wolf had sex, and now we have chihuahuas.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think dogs are human creation, essentially. Right.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, it happens all the time. I mean, my dog was never meant to be. It's a Bichon and Shih Tzu mix. That was never. How do you get from wolf to this? To something that looks like a teddy bear.
The common understanding, right, is that the wolf was domesticated somewhat by seeing that the human would share food with it if it, defended the area for the human, right? And then over the thousands of years, humans picked which wolves were better with them and, bred them together with other ones, etc. And then you have dogs.
It just doesn't make sense because you can put any race of human in a melting pot and breed them to whatever aspect you want, and they're still going to look like a human.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point, right? They don't look, like a Chihuahua and a wolf don't look anything like each other. And it's a short period of time, which we've, if you're going to say that that's the officials, what happened, that this has happened. And, it's
there has
a couple
to have
thousand
been
years.
other
Evolution is supposed to take like millions and millions of years, right?
Yeah.
Right. And there's also other canines in the wildlife too. You have foxes and other types of canines. So hyenas, it's not like the wolf is the only thing that's been around forever. And to get back onto dinosaurs is now that you're talking about evolution, I'm not really sure how you feel about a creator or what the Bible has to say, but the Bible doesn't mention dinosaurs. The Bible does, however, mention flat earth. And the Bible says, in the beginning, God created man and woman. He didn't say in the beginning he fucked up and made some lizards and they didn't work out.
I always questioned that when I was younger. I was like, how did dinosaurs come first and then God make Adam and Eve all at the same time.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I was raised Roman Catholic, I guess you could say, but I'm not like a very religious person or like practicing religious person. I guess you could say I'm like secular, right? Is that the word? Somewhat. But like I respect what people believe. Like I was saying before, I respect everything everybody believes, and I like talking to people about it, as long as you're not trying to like impose your will on me.
Of course.
But I see a lot of similarities in the flat Earth community, and it's sort of like almost it's very religious in a way, like a sense of community, like almost a religious community in a way, is something.
Well, I
I've
feel that
noticed.
like atheism is also a religious community in the way
Yes.
scientism is also a religious community in a way.
Yeah. I didn't mean
So-
that in like a derogatory way. I mean, like, you're right. Like atheists are some of the most like religious people that exist because they believe in atheism as if like that's their God. You could even
Right.
say what's going on right now with the COVID regime. Man, that's become a sort of religion for some people. You could look at the governor of New York, right? She's wearing her
Trumpism.
vaccination thing around her neck. Most people wear the cross, right? If you're Catholic or a Christian, wear a cross around your neck. The governor of New York is wearing her vaccination date, like a charm with her vaccination.
Jesus Christ.
Is that not religious behavior? It is. Whatever. Do it.
That's
different
worshiping-
strokes for different
that's
folks, right?
worshiping
But
a false idol, and at the same time saying that I believe in the same idol that you do while I'm worshiping this one. And by the way, your God would worship this idol as well, is what she's trying to tell people. Jesus would want you to be vaccinated. No, I think Jesus would probably rely on the immune system that his father gave him.
Yeah, that they created.
yeah, that is bizarre, because now we get into with the governor, right? That is someone who could actually affect your life, right? So now we're not just talking about like someone who believes in something harmlessly. Now we're talking about someone who's in a position of power and is trying to like wield power over you. So that's where like I break with someone like that. Like, you're not, you know what I mean? It's not just some harmless person. They're trying to always censor and quiet harmless people. Like us talking on YouTube, we're just having a discussion, right? Whatever we say here, we're not have our finger on the nuke button, right? We can't really change we can, I guess, like convince people to do stuff. We're not forcing anybody to do anything with like government force and the military and police and whatnot, the state.
We're just ordinary guys that are questioning things.
Exactly.
Right. And it's amazing how much trouble we get in for just doing that.
Yeah.
Because you end up over the target. Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, now we're seeing all these people that have been deleted from Twitter and Facebook and whatnot for posting quote unquote false information that has now become actual fact.
Yeah.
And they've lost accounts over. I'm on my third or fourth Instagram account now. And it's because this time around I barely even hit 4,000 followers, but at the same time, at least those followers are interactive, and I feel like I'm reaching at least a small group of people. So
yeah, definitely. The things we're talking about, right? How like there's been a lot of little changes lately in the COVID narrative, right? And I feel like those are all really good opportunities to red pill people that are completely just have bought this thing hook, line, and sinker, because there's like levels to how deeply we look at all this stuff. Like, me, Chris, you, like, we look real deep into some of this shit and we understand it at a very deep level. But if you go to like some normie and you give them the most like deepest interpretation or thing that about like the COVID regime, man, they're gonna look at you like you have 10 heads, right? And they're gonna just dismiss you outright, because you have to start with like a little pill first. So like the fact that they said cloth masks worked, and now they're saying cloth masks don't work, you have to use this. That's a good place to start with somebody, because you think, look, I was saying this a long time ago, and they were quieting me or quieting other people on social media who were saying the same thing. Now they're saying the same thing. So how many, and then you go from there. How many other things have they lied about, or they, we were misleading people about? The people who say your misinformation have been the biggest misinformers that exist, at least in my opinion.
yeah, and a lot of people don't realize, because people on the left don't really question things like we question things. So when we get fact checked, right? I know you guys probably do, because every time I get fact checked, I click on it to see what the fact check actually says. And I want to debate the person that gave me the fact check, because it's absolutely garbage. And I have actual facts that can debunk everything that they're saying. So this whole narrative is obviously a narrative that they want you to follow along and believe. And we go back to Orwell's 1984, and this is exactly what they are trying to usher in right now. And the fact that people are trying to live their lives as a normal everyday life and don't want to be involved in this, don't care to hear about it, like that time is over. You either have to be involved in this or you are 100% compliant. And I love that meme that says, if you knew, if you would stand up back in the Nazi days and now is your chance, you know exactly what you would be doing. And people like me and you, we'd be standing up. But there's so many people around us that I love to death that are just don't want anything to do with this because they just want to continue living their life. But that's not possible anymore.
Do you think that's almost human nature in a way, that majority of the population, when confronted with a challenge like the one that we're facing right now, human nature, that majority of the population doesn't want to get involved? They just kind of want to sit out and just ride it out, and whatever happens, happens. They'll give up their freedom for, because they just don't care almost.
Well, do you know anything about the Salem witch trials?
Yeah, of course. But go and get into it. Yeah, go for it.
Well, I mean, that's kind of basically the same thing that we're going through right now, is where they were dividing people and they were blaming a faceless enemy. And it didn't stop until it affected somebody of power. So the mayor of the town in Salem where this was happening to, his wife actually got accused for being a witch. And he was like, okay, that's enough of this shit.
Right. It sounds like in that situation that, right, the mayor was all cool with it if it benefited him in a way. Maybe he could spin the whole thing to his, like his benefit, if he could get rid of some enemies in town. But right, as soon as it affected him personally, he put a stop to it.
Yeah.
So at that, we're seeing Project Veritas come out against Fauci with some emails from military. He actually won't confirm who they were from, but they were obviously from military people that intercepted these emails. And it just goes down to the fact that he's been lying this entire time about his gain of function research and his involvement in it. And people are still riding the Fauci train and, showing off their Fauci tattoos and everything. So I feel like
I can't believe someone would do that.
Yeah. Again, I'm sorry, but the Fauci tattoos, the Fauci ouchie stickers that are on Instagram, if you search Fauci, that is more bizarre religious behavior, in my opinion. Like
talk about a cult, right?
Right. Yes, yeah. Exactly.
But it's, guys, to piggyback what you were saying, like when like the nation is faced with a challenge and stuff, it goes back to, if this was the greatest generation, the generation who fought World War II, no, when there was this big challenge to face, they, a majority of them stood up. The hard times create, the good times create weak men, or weak men create hard times. We are so embedded with weak men and good times right now that the external force, the establishment, the World Economic Forum, whoever you want to call it, is that's pulling the strings, finally hit the nail on the head, where we've had good times for so long and made people so weak that now is the time to strike, because this is the most opportune time for people to just bow. I want to live my normal life. I don't want anything to change. Oh, you want to inject me with an experimental drug so I could still go live my normal life? Okay, do that. It's all about the timing and playing the long game.
Yeah,
right. I want to go see Rage Against the Machine. Okay, I'll take your Fauci ouchie.
Yeah,
isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy that Rage Against the Machine has become Rage
sold
on
out.
Behalf of the machine?
Yep.
I mean, man, they're supposed to represent like fuck the man, fuck the government, fuck everything, and they're like, yes, we'll do exactly as you say, no problem. And if you don't, we'll hate you. The fuck kind of shit is
fuck
that?
You, I'm gonna do what you tell me.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Okay, I'll do what you tell me.
Yeah. And see, going back to what we were saying earlier, that's a shame, because now I can't look at them the same again.
Yeah.
Like when their song comes on the radio now or whatever, now the first thing I think of is, man, these guys sold out. And it kind of like, I still like the songs that are really good, Bulls on Parade, whatever, but it's in the back of my mind, right, that their behavior is completely different from the way it was. Like they don't stand.
It's so hard to separate the art from the artist, and especially nowadays. And I get what you're saying, because man, there's so many memes that I want to share on my story, and I know that a Rage Against the Machine song would be the perfect song for it, but at the same time I'm like being hypocritical because I'm sharing these cucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because I tweeted something earlier and I was like, nowadays, it was like, well, let me see what I tweeted, but it was basically like if you
You
put
guys are still on Twitter?
Oh yeah, I'm on there, dude. I'm on there.
Oh, I'm so jealous. I was gonna try to make a backup or another account, but I think my phone is blocked.
Hey Doom Nation, it's Gags here, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Two Doom Men. If you like what we are about, help us spread the message by subscribing to our channels and sharing the show with your friends. That's the best way we can get around big tech's algorithms. You can also help support the work we do by subscribing to our Patreon account at patreon.com/2doommen or by going to linktree.com/2doommen. That will bring you to everywhere our show has a presence. Thank you, and we hope you enjoy the show.
This country is doomed. It is doomed.
RIP. I tweeted something, I think it was earlier today, and I was like, let's play the name yourself the opposite of what you stand for game. I'll start. The People's Republic of China, anti-racist, anti-fascist, Democratic People's Republic of Korea. And I was trying to think of like other things I could add to that list. You could add Rage Against the Machine to that list, right? This has become some sort of thing in society where like we name ourselves the thing that we oppose, right? So like the anti-fascists, let's say Antifa, they're like the most fascist people that exist, right? They believe in like state power and forcing you to do what the state tells you to do. The anti-racists, they believe in, how do you be anti-racist? By discriminating based on based on race or the color of your skin, right? Rage Against the Machine, they're the ones now they're saying do everything the government tells you to do. The People's Republic of China, they're a communist dictatorship where people have no rights. It's just crazy. I don't know. That's like marketing strategies for authoritarians.
It's rebranding.
Become great. Like they're really good at it, I have to say.
And you got to think at the end of the day, you got to stop and think like, was this all by design? I think it might have been.
Yeah. It has to be at some level. There's no way like that stuff like that just happens by coincidence, or how like the whole COVID narrative can just change on a drop of a dime all of a sudden, and everybody echoes the same sentiment. Like that the masks don't work or that, with and against or of COVID. And everybody just picks up the same thing now, right? Someone is giving an order or someone is relaying the point to everybody. And then, they all follow the Mockingbird, right?
Shout out to Kill the Mockingbirds, Sean Chris.
Yes. But yeah, that's what I started this on. Like when we first started the shows, it was, this can't all be a big coincidence. And as time has gone on, like everybody's starting to realize like, no, this isn't a coincidence, that everything happens in favor of the left and everything is demonized by the right. And if the left does it, it's okay. Like it's not a coincidence.
No such thing as more than 3 coincidences. Once you hit 4, it's not a coincidence anymore. There's something going on.
Yeah, I've had numerous rants on the show where I've laid out so many coincidences that happen. I'm like, how many more fucking things do I have to say for you start to have one critical thought of what's going on in the world,
Right. We should be called coincidence theorists.
That is a great, yeah. I never liked the term conspiracy theorist, right? Because it's basically a, government created term to make anybody who questions anything like a derogatory term.
It was coined by the FBI, but I don't care. I'll wear it. Look at my logo.
Yeah, exactly.
Tinfoil hat wearing.
You got to embrace it, right?
Hat wearing high as fuck rabbit.
Speaking of the FBI, I've been going after the FBI all day today. This is Martin Luther King Day. One question I wanted to ask you is, what do you think about the situation around Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination and like what do you think happened there? Do you have any opinion or background on it?
I think it was definitely, I think that he was somebody, you don't get that public with organically back then. So he was allowed to get that public because it was creating a movement that they wanted to happen. And all these movements lead up to the point that we're at right now. And so what I feel with Martin Luther King Jr. is I feel like he absolutely was, I just posted him in my story today as well. Like he absolutely was an amazing man who had an amazing vision, and he served a purpose. However, he might have served a purpose that he didn't realize he was taking part of. And that leads up to what we are going through today. Like, I don't know if you know anything about Rosa Parks, but like, she actually wasn't shit. she actually was not the first person to stand up and do something about anything. She just happened to have ties with people that were able to exploit it. And that's the way that I feel about Martin Luther King Jr. is that he had a platform back then when most people didn't have a platform, and they were able to use him to create this racism that we have today, because they use Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, who were amazing people, both amazing people, but they use them to create an anti-white agenda today. And I think that's very it's very explosive to the community. And once again, united we stand, divided we fall, and they're using every trick in the book to divide us. I mean, even right now in the truther movement, they're trying to divide the truther movement. You got people posting pictures of like James from We the People Radio and Michael Flynn, and like trying to call these people out as Satanists and stuff like that to try to get infighting within this movement. And people seem to forget, like, not only where we go one, we go all, but united we stand, divided we fall. So the longer we fight with each other, the longer we're not going to look at where the real enemy is. Martin Luther King Jr. was an amazing person. However, I think he was a useful idiot.
I kind of see what you're getting at, because I often, as the days go on and as more podcast episodes we pump out and the more we learn, you don't get anywhere without having blood on your hands. You don't become the governor of New York City and your brother become the lead anchor of a legacy media corporation without getting blood on your hands. Just Eric Adams, anybody, Hochul. So there was definitely something behind. I could see that there was an agenda that allowed Martin Luther King Jr. to get the platform that he had. And then, but like back then, I could easily see them using that to their advantage while he has no idea what's going on, what the real agenda was.
I think like the elite, the government, the state, they're adaptable, right? They'll take anything going on in the moment and try and spin that in their advantage. My thing about like Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination is that he was threatened by the FBI, right, themselves. That's why I was going after the FBI today, because they tweeted like, "Oh, happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day, equality, etc. For everybody."
Yeah, flaunting it.
Right, but I mean, like, there's a literal document that WikiLeaks put out that's of them threatening him and encouraging him to kill himself because of like his movement and what he was trying to do. It's like antithetical to whatever kind of horseshit the FBI was doing. And then you could look at the president himself today. He made some comments about how Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination didn't have the wide-ranging effect that George Floyd's death had on the world. And I'm like, okay. I was just saying this to Chris before.
Of the media right now.
But I was just saying this to Chris before. I'm like, okay, but like in my opinion, it seems like you guys, as in you guys, like the state, had King assassinated because you didn't like what he was doing. And George Floyd was killed. You took that and you used it to your advantage to divide people and won. So like, of course, it didn't have, I guess you could say, like the effect George Floyd did, is because you didn't want people to really know. You wanted to sweep under the rug kind of King's assassination. But George Floyd, you wanted to highlight and make sure you could drive that wedge in between everybody regarding, because then you could, justify domestic terrorism laws and everybody in the country is a racist and we have to pass bills to transfer wealth and get more equity,
Yep.
So, yeah,
110%.
I agree with the president for once, right? It's just like he's being, misleading in my opinion on what he's exactly talking about.
Well, I told you after last week, he has become my favorite president of all time, because the government is on fire and he is nothing but gasoline. The guy has done more damage to the establishment than anyone could possibly do, waking up people every single day. But, I think I was mentioning this to you before as well, Skaggs. It's just the left has so piss poor morally, like have no leg to stand on, that they need to create new heroes like George Floyd, so we forget and move on and move past people like Martin Luther King Jr., who right now probably would not be in agreement with what's going on Wow,
I didn't even think about it like that. They are trying to create new heroes, aren't they?
Yeah, they're trying to, we stood together on 9/11, and whether I know that's a whole conspiracy that, believe me, I buy into, but we stood together and we had a new common enemy, Islamic terrorists and stuff, and they could always go back to that day to remind you to be, a patriot. We're going to, we're going to let the NSA listen to all your phone calls, but remember what happened on 9/11. So this is what you got to be patriotic. You look at January 6th.
These rights, right? Yeah. And how disgusting is it that these people like Kamala Harris is going to get up there and address the fucking United States of America? And how dare her say that January 6th was comparable to 9/11 or comparable to what happened in Hawaii? This is just absolute bonkers to me, how anybody could feed into any of this. I'm sorry. Like, as much fuckery was behind 9/11, it was a devastating day. We lost a lot of Americans that day.
Mm-hmm.
On January 6th, we lost one patriotic American, and that didn't need to even happen. That was why isn't that being investigated? I don't know, but
yeah, you can see the hypocrisy just in that action alone, and the left, right? I hate even the label of left and right, because they don't even mean what they classically are supposed to mean anymore. But like the people who are for criminal justice reform and abolish the police and whatnot were cheering on a police officer killing somebody that was pretty much peaceful in an effort, right? So like they don't really believe in anything. They just believe in power, as I've said before, at any means, whether that means like unleashing the police on their enemies to murder them. Yeah, they'll do that. They'll be totally in support of the police if that's what the police are going to do for them.
Yeah. And just look, I mean, they use January 6th as a day to distract you from just how bad the administration is. They use Martin Luther King Jr. Day just as an excuse to look. They have everybody talking about the election reform. They're using his name for election reform, and they're lying to us. They're spreading disinformation about elections. Yeah. And they have to use a holiday that's tied to a race to push their agenda, because any other day of the week, it doesn't work for them.
Yes. They have even, real quick, because this was something that really fucking pissed me off. Look, I don't know. It's easy for us to say, like, I don't think Martin Luther King Jr. would have agreed with what's going on today, right? It's easy for us to say that. The guy's dead, right? I don't really know what he would think or what he would believe right now. People's beliefs also change over time as they get older and whatnot. But his family has come out, some of them, and said, don't celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day this year because until we get the Voting Rights Act passed. And I'm just sitting here and I'm like, holy shit, everything you just said, Cap, is exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to tie like a political agenda piece, a bill, to race and voting rights. Like, what are you even fucking talking about? And everybody has the right to vote, right? The most people voted of all time. The most people voted of all time, right? Apparently, in the most previous election in New York City now, people who are not even American citizens can vote. So what the fuck are you even talking about? What voting rights? They're trying to nationalize elections. They want complete control, the federal government, over everything, and they've like enlisted the help of Martin Luther King Jr.'s family. I'm not even trying to say that they're being nefarious as people. Maybe they really believe what they're being.
Anybody can be bought off.
Right. Maybe they are. Maybe they really are. Maybe his family, the ones that are saying don't celebrate the holiday, maybe they really believe that this agenda, this bill, is really going to expand voting rights. I don't know. I don't know them or whatnot, but just it's bizarre for them to like take a person's family like that, who are like influential people in like the history, the legacy of America, and be like, yeah, well, the Democrats can get this bill passed, so we have to like, completely rewrite history now or ignore what's going on because, I don't like it. We don't like what the Democrats can get done. So,
Yeah. And then you use something like today, and JFK, not Martin Luther King, and, they get to hide behind its race, because anybody who goes after it being like, this is BS. Oh, you're a racist. You're a racist. Right. Just like they put, anyone in power who's trans or gay or of a different race. So they just have that extra shield to hide behind.
Yeah. And that's something new too, because I feel like if Barack Obama was going to run today, he wouldn't have had to hide the fact that Michelle is actually Michael.
Yeah. Yep. Obama, baby.
I've heard this. Let's dive into this topic, right? Because I've heard this. I've laughed at it. I think it's funny, but I never like looked into it. What is the backstory behind that? I've only laughed at it. I've never looked into it myself.
So
go ahead, Katillist.
There is a gentleman who blew Obama out of the water, and was he was going through these court cases, and it was dealing with Obama and his dealings with Obama. And basically Obama smoked crack with this guy, received oral sex from this guy. And this guy also came out and said that Michelle Obama is actually Michael, who is a man, was born a man. And the Obama kids actually don't even belong to, they're not even the Obama kids. They actually belong to another couple. You can look that up. Google, even if you want to go on Google, the funny thing is you can Google it and you will see who their real parents are. And it makes a lot more sense. But the funny thing is about Michelle Obama being a man is Joan Rivers.
Ah, yes.
In one of her last appearances ever, they were like, when are we going to see a gay president? And she was like, we already have a gay president with Obama. And they were like, what do you mean? And she was like, Michelle is a tranny. Everybody knows that. It's nothing new.
Oh my God. I never heard that before.
I seen it. Yeah, I seen it. There's also like allegedly no pictures of Michelle Obama pregnant with her daughters. There's pictures of like old pictures of Obama with Mike Obama, basically before he transitioned. So it's in, but then also like his name's not even Obama, it's Barry Soetoro, right? Or
Barry Soetoro, yeah.
Soetoro. And his grandparents were CIA spies.
Yep.
Right. His grandmother was the CIA agent that would make the sexual blackmail. That's
why Trump was talking so loudly about, let me see your birth certificate. Yeah. Show America your birth certificate.
And didn't some guy from Saudi Arabia pay for Obama's college education?
I don't know anything about that, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he got some scholarship, or somebody from the Middle East paid his college.
Interesting. Yeah, Google is useless to get any information on this. It's just, like it's ignoring almost what I typed in. I typed in, is Michelle Obama a man? And it's not giving me any.
Yeah, like, literally use Bing or
duck. Ignoring what I said. Yeah, I'd have to use a different browser, even if you could trust those. But it's just giving me like Michelle Obama through the years of photos, ABC News, People.com, PolitiFact.
All right, where's her children? Where's pictures of her as a child?
If you go back a few weeks on my account on Instagram, I actually posted a video that shows her and her bulge very up front and center.
When they were on the boat, right?
There's all kinds of stuff. Actually, there's this cool punk rock band that made an Obama or Michelle is a man song. And I put that song together with a bunch of videos showing her freaking bulge. And yeah, you got to go watch it. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, she's also got a stronger jawline than me and bigger biceps as well.
Hey, man. I'll tell you,
she got bigger biceps than a lot of people.
Yeah.
Look, at this point, just if that is what it is, come out and tell us.
Yeah.
Like it's the cool thing to do now, anyways, nowadays culturally, right? So, he'd be the most, even more woke than he already was. So
he'd be the woke king, the woke emperor, man.
That would be a good thing and a bad thing, because they would be like, oh shit, you lied to us.
Yeah. Well, you know what? To be honest with you, the people who lied. Dude, yeah, the people who would welcome this with open arms and stuff, they're the same people that are keeping their heads in the sand. I really don't think there's all the 4-jabbed sheeple that are praying to Dr. Fauci. If Obama came out and was like, yeah, she's, a tranny, this is who we are, and they would accept it, and it would be like the media would play it up as this is the greatest news ever. Caitlyn Jenner,
and they would play it up like they couldn't tell us because people were so hateful.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. Just nobody would question it. Nobody.
Yeah,
You're right. They should probably do it.
I think we're in the process.
And that would be another win for us because it would be like, I told you so.
Yeah. Well, hey, if Hillary Clinton decides to run again in 2024, the only viable VP option I could see them doing to get any fucking votes for themselves is Michelle Obama. I hate to say it. It's like, I don't care if two women ran to be, president and vice president. I care if those two women run to be president and vice president.
What do you think the deal is with that? Why are they bringing Hillary out of the bullpen all of a sudden and floating the idea of her, again, making another run at being president? What's going on with that? What do you guys think?
I actually think that that's going to happen sooner than people think, because I think that the 25th Amendment is going to bite Biden in the ass, just like Trump said it is going to. However, that's going to be before 2024, and that's going to be before we figure out all this stupid shit that we're trying to deal with, the election fraud. But I have a feeling that Hillary is going to make an appearance and become one of our, if not vice president, president.
Yeah, right. I guess you could say technically, right? If Biden was removed, but the 25th Amendment, Kamala would, I think, become president, right? And then she would be able to choose a new vice president, whoever she wanted. Yeah, you could literally see a path right there for Hillary to be chosen.
Right, and a lot of people think that Nancy Pelosi might fill in that gap as well, or people think that Nancy Pelosi will say that Kamala isn't fit for the job and petition it, and she would take reign and then bring in Hillary as her vice president.
Jesus Christ.
I don't know if there's a mechanism for them to do that, but at the same time, they could just change rules and that's
I could see that causing a few problems.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what happens. I don't think that Trump didn't see all this coming. So I truly feel like there's something going to come within the next 6 months that's going to shock the shit out of everybody.
Well, I always ask this of other, Q followers and stuff. That's what got me into the conspiracy side of the podcast. I didn't dive into it nearly as deep as some people have. It was very surface stuff. And once Trump was out of office, I really just used the Q stuff now to look up new conspiracies and to see where things are at. The first arrest that's going to shock the world, who do you think that's going to be?
That's going to be Fauci.
Yeah,
because I really shocked the world, though. I mean,
it would.
No, I don't think so, dude. I'm sorry, I just don't, because
people are right now doing Fauci on them.
Yeah, that is true. But half the world right now wants to see him locked up, right? And I wouldn't say that. Yeah. But I wouldn't say that half.
That doesn't mean that it wouldn't shock, because half the people that think that he should be locked up are also half of the people that are like, nothing's ever going to happen.
Yeah.
So the fact that something happened is going to shock those people.
Hopeful. I believe me. I hope so. Right. But I listened to your most recent episode. You were with James and Justin, and I think you guys are waiting for the new Fauci stuff to come out. And I think it was Justin who's like, man, it's like, what else do we need to fucking know? He's like, we already know at this point. The guy is the worst, right? So I thought that was funny. But that's the way, like, I think most people understand that the guy is he deserves to at least be put on trial, and for us to like legitimately look into exactly what happened and then go from there, So I mean, but you're right. I guess it would.
What do you think about? What do you think
would
about
rationalize it though? That some people would just like they're rationalizing every change right now. They'd rationalize why Fauci needs to be arrested, right? Because of something,
Well, yeah, but if Fauci does get arrested, that opens up a whole new wormhole, because then we got like Cuomo and Newsom putting elderly people in these homes,
old folks' homes,
and purposely killing people. And so, where
it's going to be the first domino to take down all the other dominoes. What's going to lead to, figuring out the election and stuff.
Or the first arrest might be through the Durham investigation, and it might be somebody in the Hillary campaign. Now, I don't think that would shock the world unless it was actually Hillary Clinton.
See, that's who. So what we were bringing up with, that Hillary could have this weird path into the White House, or that she is going to run for 2024. That, to me, it would be, it's going to end up being too polarizing and divisive, but like her popping up again and like immediately getting taken down, or like her, like maybe she's trying to run for president so they can't like, you know, investigate her like they tried telling us about Joe Biden when all that Hunter Biden stuff came out.
Well, that's a myth. If you think you can't invest anybody, you can investigate whoever the fuck you want.
No, I don't disagree, but I could see them using that as a path. But I think it would be shocking though if like she makes her reappearance and like on the first debate stage just gets arrested.
I don't see that as being something that won't happen.
I think it's wishful
she's gonna get locked up
for you know, like for it to be that you know, like perfect, like, you know, to happen that way, especially when, I mean, like we're talking about the FBI right now, like the FBI is on
I would stop if that happened.
Department, the organizations are on these people's side, you know, like they're not gonna,
man, if that happened, I would stop
like a citizen's arrest.
And every day I would jerk off to Hillary Clinton getting arrested.
That'd be the #1 searched Pornhub video of the year when they come out with the stats at the end of the year. Yeah, man, I don't know. You know, like, would I like to see justice served, you know, to these people? Yeah, but I don't see it. You know, like the FBI is literally like politically motivated behind every single action that they do, and it's all like deep state politically motivated things. Like even this, it's hysterical. Even this terrorist, what just happened in Texas? They had like a hostage situation in Texas, right? And they're saying, no, you know, the guy had no motivations to go after Jewish people, although he had a hostage situation at a Jewish synagogue. But then they say, you know, the parents going to school board meetings are terrorists. So, I mean, they're literally just following marching orders or whatever way the political agenda or, you know, talking points are at the moment. So to think that like the FBI or whoever, and you know, is just going to show up and arrest her on a debate stage. Yeah, I just don't see that happening. They have to be like a local police.
The FBI is basically the SSI right now, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we're not dealing with people that have our best interests at heart. We're dealing with people that are just collecting a paycheck, and that's what I worry about with these police departments. However, the sheriff departments are something very different, and I think that we can count on our sheriffs to have our best interests at heart, because we're coming into some unknown territory right now, people, and it could get really bad. It could get really, really bad. Mm-hmm. Or maybe we hold our ground and it doesn't get as bad as I think it's going to get, but I think it's going to get really bad pretty soon. And it's going to be up to people like us that are willing to speak out and aren't afraid to be Anne Franked.
I think that could be what you're saying, could be something that really shocks everybody's system, you know,
martial law or something.
Not only that, but man, like some sort of kinetic conflict breaks out somewhere, you know, which I don't want either. I don't want something like that.
Once you're put into a train, it's too late. You'd be like, I told you. Be like, oh, yep, but I'm already in this train.
We always said, me and Skaggs were going to have a great time walking around the gulags telling everybody we told you so.
Yeah, I'm not going to get that far. You know, there's
one thing I'll be made an example of.
You know, there's one thing different about us. I guess you could say about like the American community. It's like we're way better armed, and you know, most of us, right, are way better armed, and like saying that stuff, right? Like we know history, right? So we're apprehensive to something like that happening. So I don't think we'll ever make it to the gulag. We'll probably, I saw somebody on Twitter said it recently. It's like, we're not going to be in the gulag. We're going to be in the fields laying the ambush. Right. And then if, you know, we'll never make it to the gulag. We'll either win or they'll have die trying. Die trying.
Yeah. I will never be in the gulag, because I will either have fought my way out of it or I got shot trying to do it.
I always said my favorite scene from, what was it, Skaggs? Logan or whatever, the Wolverine. Yeah, where he's in Japan and he's trying to get to the Silver Samurai, and all the ninjas are shooting him with the arrows and the chains, and like he's running through like murdering everyone until he finally gets there, and they're holding him back with the chains. That's gonna be me outside my house.
That's how you want to go out. Yeah, just shot with 100 arrows. As you were charging Fauci, the last guy, whoever the big evil villain of the day is. Yeah, that's how I'm going out.
Unfortunately, it's not going to be Fauci at your house, man. Wouldn't that be an amazing end to the thing where you get actually slit the throat of the person that indoctrinated all of us into this bullshit.
Yeah, we're not advocating for any violence towards Dr. Fauci. We're just making movie references and whatnot. But yeah, you know, man, it's funny because people who advocate, there was a poll, or a Rasmussen poll, I think, that came out recently about Democrats, and like more than half of them are in favor of like literally using the military or to throw people who are unvaccinated in jail. Yep. It's not ever going to be a person who holds that opinion that comes and physically like removes you or forces you to do something. They're going to rely on a middleman who's like the burly dude with the gun who's for hire to do it. You know, it's not going to be some woke, crazy, pink-haired liberals going to show up at your house and be like, you have to get vaccinated, so get in the car now or I'm going to kill you, because you'd kill them, right? You'd obviously overpower them easily. They rely on state power. They rely on the police. And like you were saying before, that's something everybody has to keep in mind at the end of the day, is the police are just agents of the state. Yes, some of them are good, but yes, some of them are bad. And yes, some of them are just going to do whatever they're told. Yes, boss, I'll go and arrest people for sitting in the restaurant for eating and they're not vaccinated.
I feel like every police officer that was ever a part of the military is going to have our backs, because they put their life on the line and they served to do something, and they took an oath, and that oath still means something to them. And I hope that is true.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I hope so too. I mean, but every police officer takes an oath to the Constitution, right? And
a lot of police officers just get that job just because.
Oh no, yeah. I'm just saying when they. Yeah, right. You know, it's like the thing you want to be when you're a kid. I want to be a police officer. But like, I think when they get sworn in, they do take an oath to the Constitution, right? And I mean, for years, you know, before shit got really crazy, now police have been enforcing unconstitutional laws. Before, it was as dire as the situation it is now. You know, just look at New York City and their treatment of the Second Amendment rights. You know, the New York Police Department gladly will arrest you for carrying a gun there illegally, although the Second Amendment says you have the right to bear arms, right? So that's just a problem.
And shall not be infringed.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. Right, but you have cops gladly arresting people, posting it on their Twitter feed. Yay, we took more guns off the streets and whatnot, you know?
Yep, I know somebody a year and a half now. He's over a year and about 2 months, I'd say, waiting for his pistol permit to be okayed. He did everything. He's not a piece of shit. He's never been arrested. And, you know, and go out and read the guidelines for getting a pistol permit in the state of New York. They talk about how you have to be an upstanding citizen.
Well, even if you've been arrested, you should still be able to get a fucking
firearm. In New York. Won't be able to in New York. They just deny you your Second Amendment right. And if you take your class, and you know, you actually have to buy the pistol before you get licensed, so the government already knows what type of, you know, pistol you're buying. You could go through the whole thing and pay all the money and get the background checks, and then just at the end of it, they could just go, no, you don't pass, and an entire state denies your Second Amendment right.
That's incredible. And I don't give a fuck if you, even if you're a felon, I think you should still be able to own a gun.
Yeah,
because
I agree.
There's a lot of people, myself included, that are felons over some bullshit that I should not be a felon over.
Right. And I mean, the Second Amendment doesn't say that you can't own a gun if you're a felon. It just says you have the right to bear arms and it shall not be infringed. Like, as long as you're, you know, an American person, doesn't matter what you look like, what you did, your story, whatever, your beliefs, you have the right to bear arms, right? I've said it before. It's the most progressive piece of legislation that ever existed. And it's telling how the progressive people are the ones who want to dismantle and you know, do away with it.
And on top of it, look at certain states. You know, we went to Tennessee. If you're a felon in Tennessee, you can still get a carry permit. We met some guy who was arrested 23 times and they still let him carry a pistol. In New York, if you're a business owner, they won't give you a carry permit. It's so restrictive in the state of New York, carry-wise, that the Supreme Court is actually hearing a lawsuit and will decide probably around in the summer that might force New York to become a must-issue state.
If you're a business owner in New York, shouldn't you carry a fucking pistol all the time?
Yeah, well, because, you know, riots could just show up at any moment.
That's one of the only ways you can almost get a concealed carry.
Has to be a
permit
cash business in
yeah.
a highly crime ridden neighborhood. Luckily now every neighborhood is highly crime ridden, so that kind of
I'm not really that lucky.
Yeah. So but yeah, and but it has there's certain qualifications to it and stuff. And yeah, but if you buy a shotgun or a rifle, you just go to the store, you fill out some paperwork, they do a quick 10-minute background check on you, and you walk out with a shotgun.
Yeah, I'm against all that shit too. I'm now just complete absolutist. You shouldn't have to do anything. It's your fucking
buy it at the corner
your
store.
God-given right, basically. It's just been written on paper in the Constitution. You know, at the end of the day, like the Second Amendment, guns give people individual freedom, right? Because they're just leverage against other people who want to take away your individual freedom. Just because we like guns or we're advocating for gun ownership doesn't mean we're advocating for crime or for people shooting people for no reason. We're actually advocating for the complete opposite, right? I've had this conversation with like NYPD before. I'm like, what do you think about there being concealed carry? And they don't like it because they think it would bring about more crime. I'm like, no, it wouldn't. It would solve more crime. You're going to have people.
They don't like it because they're not the one in power.
Right, exactly. Because that's just human nature. People want to be the ones in power. But like if everybody had a gun, man, you're going to think twice about who you're going to fuck with, right? Because you might be an asshole who has a gun.
Especially if they're concealing it and you don't even know who has it. Right. And you're like, fuck, do I really want to pull this gun out right now?
That's why like certain states allow open carry. And like, if you want to do that, go ahead. That's fine. But I don't like the idea personally. I wouldn't do it personally because I'd rather nobody know what I'm doing. I don't want to be the target of some lunatic first. You know, I'd rather just be, no one knows who I am or what I'm doing. Right. And then I come out of nowhere.
You know, that hostage situation in Texas wouldn't have been a hostage situation if 2 or 3 people that were being held hostage had guns.
But you can kind of just get a gun.
Texas is an open stary case.
I know it is, but I think because it's a synagogue or whatever, nobody like carries in there.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think there is rules to like places of worship and stuff. And since it's a church, I think they could also declare like
also private property, right? I'm all good with a private property making their own rules. Like if you want to come on my private property, you got to abide by my rules. If my rules say no guns, that's fine. You know, that's I have no problem with that. You know, I can't just like show up to someone's house with like
2 ARs
or not even that, like, you know, some thing of like nuclear radiation and be like, hey, I'm just getting everybody irradiated or something and causing them to die. You know, it's you gotta follow people's private property rules. But you know, when we're in the public space or when you're on your own property, you know, the law of the land should apply, right? Freedom, individualism, etc. And they're trying to like change everybody's perspective or like the way society is structured.
They should infringe on the Second Amendment. I just don't think that they should infringe on the Second Amendment at all.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's exactly what I feel. I feel like, you know, forget about they shouldn't infringe. We should be pushing back and uninfringing what they've infringed upon. You know, so
which
like
we never do.
Right. It's my biggest criticism of Dan Crenshaw right now, right? In his comment where he's like, we want to be a speed bump to progressives. I don't want a fucking speed bump. I want somebody who's going to fight back and get in the bulldozer, start pushing the other way.
I just posted a picture of Dan Crenshaw on my story that says, bye, Felicia.
Yeah, that's kind of why I brought him up too. I was saying that was pretty funny. Yeah. He's been outed lately, I'd say.
Yeah.
As a pretty phony dude. It's a little bit disheartening because I thought he was going to be, promising. You know, dude seems,
when he went on Joe Rogan and I listened to that interview, I was like, this fool is paid and bought for.
Yeah, right. Around the same time, I started being like, "What's wrong?" With
He's also part of the World Economics Forum's like youth to look out for or whatever.
Yeah, who just had a meeting? Klaus Schwab just had another meeting, and they had President Xi of China joined, and they built him up as a key contributor now to the World Economic Forum and whatnot. So yeah, they don't even really hide it well what they're trying to do anymore. Honestly, they put it right out in their front. That's how
the actual Legion of Doom.
And it's so sad that people would just buy this sink line hooker. Like it's happily. Just amazing how amazing these people are just like, okay, this is what it is.
I said this not years ago. I said this a few months ago that the Nazis didn't lose. They just fell back, infiltrated, and played the long game. How like every mass genocidal event has ended up in some type of war, where the genocidal maniac who was trying to kill millions of a certain race gets brought down by force. Wouldn't it be like way easier if people willingly, decided to participate in the mass genocide, lining up around the corner? Like,
what do you think China's doing to us right now?
Yeah.
Right. They're trying to, culturally implode our nation so that we could, just fall in line with what they want. They're not going to send no invasion force across the Pacific Ocean to invade the mainland United States in some open war. They'd be destroyed before they even got here. They're trying to like rot us from the inside out so that never has to happen. They could just influence everything that happens here and the Chinese Communist Party's way. That's why another thing that annoys me about, the Democrats or the state or even the Republicans who are always, we have to protect Taiwan and, we have to guard against Chinese aggression, military aggression. You have to guard against them infiltrating us like society, like social engineering. I'm not worried about their fucking military. Our military could destroy their military in a straight up conflict, especially with the space involved. It's like, this Marxism that's like infiltrated society and culture now. And the fact that like, you guys familiar with how TikTok works in China as opposed to how it works over here?
No.
Obviously, you guys know TikTok is a Chinese Communist Party company, right? As every company, corporation is in China. In China, TikTok is only allowed to be used from the hours of, I think, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. The algorithm only promotes education, exercise, fitness, eating well, like trying to make kids who use TikTok, like trying to promote good values.
I think I'd rather that TikTok over this.
Right. And that's what, by law, right? If you post any stupid shit on TikTok over there, it's completely removed and banned. You can't. It's impossible. Over here, TikTok is laden with bullshit. There's fucking shows of Hype House that Shane was watching at my house the other day. I don't even know what the fuck it is, like a TikTok house where people dance around and doing dumb shit and whatnot. And that's what is being promoted over here. And I'm all for people doing whatever the fuck they want, but the algorithm is intentionally promoting like stuff that is just deteriorating our culture and making us want to fight each other. It's just going to
make you look. It's just they're promoting stupidism.
Right, exactly. While on their side, they're promoting learn stuff, be smart, work out, eat good, healthy food. But over here, they're promoting do stupid shit, eat fucking vegan soy, chemical bomb, McDonald's or whatever. That's how they're trying. I'm not worried about them military.
They promoted it, or they've got infiltrated within our communities. And so now we have these people that want to take over America who are promoting good things for their country, even though it is a communist piece of shit fucking country. But they want their people to come out ahead on this. So they're trying to dumb the Americans down as much as possible. That's why you see these ridiculous TikToks. That's why you see these ridiculous fucking like not meme when people like go to do something that is like trending on TikTok or whatever,
goes viral, like when something goes viral.
It like the stupidest shit though, like that is just
all those dance challenges and shit.
Dumbfounding. Like, let's crawl up these crates.
Right, the crate challenge. Right, exactly. Yeah.
Like just stupid stuff. So they just want us dumb. And we go back like years and years ago. Like they implemented this education system that we have now, what basically makes stupid people be able to prevail. And I don't know about you guys, but like when I was going to school, if you didn't know the criteria, you didn't get to move on.
Right, but it's a complete opposite now. And now that they've just changed the criteria. It's, the criteria is what does the federal government basically tell you you're supposed to know and learn.
And that's how to jack off another 13-year-old boy, by the way.
Right.
That's what they want you to know.
The thing with TikTok, man, like you were saying the crate challenge, right? I got no problem with people making TikTok videos of them doing the crate challenge, right? My problem is with TikTok's algorithm is promoting that stuff only, right? And making it go viral. But then when you have guys like me and Chris who did a TikTok and we post videos about like political stuff and the news and whatnot. We get banned, right? So it's, if you're gonna, there shouldn't be maybe an algorithm promoting anything. Everything should be more organic and just let freedom, choose what people want to look at or whatnot. They are literally promoting stupid shit and erasing intellectual, critical thinking shit. That is my problem with it. It's not a level. And then on their side, they're promoting all the critical thinking, smart, value, morally good stuff. Eat good, like I said, eat good, work out, etc. That's what we should be worried about. That sort of stuff.
I don't even see that, man. Their idea of critical thinking is fucking way out there.
Not critical thinking. I mean, I just mean like eat vegetables, like eat organic food. You should do push-ups. You should, read. They are trying to get people
like they promote vegan activists more so than they would somebody that is like, hey, why don't we question what they're putting in this job?
Right? Yeah. Why don't we question what they're putting in the vegan food? Right? Is anybody eating one of those Impossible Whoppers? They're just chemical fucking bombs.
Nah.
And
no, because I've already watched enough documentaries to know that I don't want anything to do with that.
The meat ones already were chemical laden. Let's use McDonald's for example, right? But imagine what the Impossible ones are now, man. And if you watched over the football games the past weekend, Cap, I don't know if you noticed this, but man, like there's another organized effort to advertise Impossible this, soy this, vegan this, like all at the same time by the fast food industry.
Yeah, and electric cars.
Right.
Vegan burgers and electric cars.
Yeah, right.
All at the same time. They move in unison. I ate a bison burger today, and I filled my truck up with gasoline.
Yep.
Good for you.
That's I don't think I'd ever go to an electric vehicle.
I've had bison burgers before. Those are actually pretty good. I would, man. I think they're cool. I think that some of them are cool, but if you want one, you get one. If you want a gasoline one, you get one. I don't see why the government should be involved in forcing us to adopt one over the other. Like, the Teslas are pretty fucking cool. They're fast.
Teslas are pretty fucking dope, dude. If I could afford one, I'd probably
don't want one.
That's fine. And that's your choice. You know what I mean?
When everybody has electric cars, the price of electricity will go up and then they'll start popping off EMPs.
Right. But everybody's only going to have an electric car because the government's going to force everybody to have an electric car. If you just let people do what they want, if you just let the market figure it out, if you just let people buy an electric car or a gas car, eventually the market will figure out we need to make more electricity, or we need to, drill for more oil. It'll figure it out. But when the government gets involved, they fuck everything up.
Yeah, well, that's why they're getting involved.
Last thing I wanted to mention to you guys is, did you guys watch the Rand Paul Fauci exchange the other day?
I love wrestling.
Yeah. Those, man, as soon as as I heard, I was like, man, Rand Paul is going to drag his ass again, isn't he? And he did. It was pretty funny. What were you going to say, Cap? Go ahead.
No, I actually didn't get to watch the full thing yet. I've had a very busy week. So
I hear you. Well, one thing I just found completely hysterical about the whole thing is Dr. Fauci, he again deflected, didn't answer any of the questions, said that Rand Paul had no evidence. Meanwhile, all he's doing is presenting evidence about how, he conspired with the other doctors to discredit people and whatnot. Dr. Fauci's big crowning moment of this whole thing was he held up a sign of Rand Paul's website, and on the front of Rand Paul's website says, "Fire Dr. Fauci. You can contribute to Rand Paul's political campaign here, $5, $10, $20, whatever." Dr. Fauci is trying to say, when you come on here and you lie about me, you're convincing people to want to kill me, and it's people are calling to threaten my family, threaten me. He's like, a man got arrested in Washington State, and he had an AR-15. Of course, he had an AR-15, right? Of all guns.
They love that gun.
And he says,
coming from Sacramento, California, right. And he had an AR-15, and he wanted to kill me because of the lies that you're spreading about me.
And he's saying, this is because, right, you're spreading lies about me. How dare you? My life is in danger. Of all people to say that to, it's fucking insane to me that he would say that to Rand Paul. Mm-hmm. You remember Rand Paul was actually shot at on the congressional softball. He was actually shot at by a lunatic leftist on a fucking softball field. A guy sucker punched him, his neighbor, I think, sucker punched him from behind because he disagreed with him politically. He was surrounded by Black Lives Matter.
What I'm talking about.
He was surrounded by Black Lives Matter. He's been like if you're going to talk to anybody about like my job is dangerous in the public eye and people want to kill me, how dare you say that to Rand Paul? He's actually been fucking shot at before.
That's the agenda. When the January 6th, they're only mad about it because it's the day they took one on the chin. It's okay for Rand Paul to be attacked. It's okay for any right way. Yeah, that's it. It's just a divisive way of looking at it. We're looking at it normally like this guy's already been attacked, but they won't acknowledge that what happened to him is an attack.
Yeah, it's a bullshit defense. He's just deflecting from someone actually calling him out on shit. Of course, if that guy really was trying to go kill Dr. Fauci, that's fucking stupid. Why would you go do something like that on your own, right? Like we want justice the right way here. But being in like a position of public leadership, people are going to threaten you. People are going to want to kill you. They did it to Trump. They've done it to Rand Paul. They do it to Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, whoever. When you engage in public office or the public spotlight, people are going to fucking want to kill you. That's just the way it goes. That's part of the fucking job.
They don't like to talk about the fact that 6 months before the election, Trump was actually run down into the cellar and had to fight for his life, basically, because people were trying to infiltrate and break in and murder him.
The White House, right? Yeah, it was under they were people like literally besieging the White House in a riot outside. Right.
But January 6th was worse than 9/11, right?
Yeah, right. It's just
3,000 plus people dead.
They believe in nothing but power. They'll spin every single thing to their favor, even if it's complete horseshit. But when it happens the other way, someone can literally shoot at Rand Paul, and Dr. Fauci wants to say, "Oh, you're threatening me. You're causing people to want to be violent against me." And at the end of the day, do you really think anybody wanted to go murder Dr. Fauci because they saw on Rand Paul's website, contribute here $20 to help fire Dr. Fauci? That's the logical way you want to get rid of Dr. Fauci.
Oh no, he brought it up to $100 actually.
Good for him. I'm sure the him holding up that picture of Fauci is not playing the way he wanted to be. It's probably boosting Rand Paul's stuff. But man, I mean, just what a backwards fucking logic.
I've made at least 5 memes from him holding up that sign.
That's great.
If anything's gonna make you want to kill Dr. Fauci, it's like the whole COVID regime the past 2 years, and he's the architect of everything, and people losing their job. Not Rand Paul's website and a fucking fire Fauci thing.
That's what they want you to think.
To have.
The narrative is that he's so holy, it doesn't matter.
Literally. What do you guys think about Matt Baker?
I'm not familiar with Matt Baker.
Yeah, you gotta.
Here was Matt Baker. Hang on.
I will be asked, how many vaccines have you had? Have you been a good little Nazi? Hail Fauci! Hail Fauci! Fauci!
What is this?
Is this satire, or is he being dead serious?
No, he's dead serious. He was at a city hall meeting, and he was like, "You guys sit up here on a throne of lies," and was like, "The Nuremberg Code is going to be brutal."
Okay. I meant was he like, so he was being like that. The whole thing was satire. Was being he was being like Hail Fauci in a funny way. I thought maybe because it won't be past me if someone like was that radically a believer of Dr. Fauci
promoting it,
right?
Oh, no. He was being totally hypocritical, being like, you guys are so into this indoctrination that you're like, he was comparing it to Nazi Germany. And I think that was absolutely what the fuck should be compared to.
We compare it to it all the time.
Yeah. It's a tired comparison, but they're like the big bad villain of all time. So that's the comparison you use, that's why I for now. Right. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Just, we were talking about in the last episode, Novak Djokovic. He actually did end up getting deported from Australia for nothing, for not being vaccinated, basically. So at least they didn't kill him. They just deported him for now. But
and at least they didn't put him in one of their camps too.
Yeah,
because
I'm sure they wanted
that's
to.
What I thought was going to happen.
Yeah, they had him in some sort of under some sort of arrest. I don't think he was in a camp. He was in like a quarantine hotel. I made the point on the last episode that Hitler was nicer to the African American Olympic runners in the 34 Olympics than Australia was to Novak Djokovic because he's unvaccinated. What a bizarre fucking world we live in right now.
So crazy. I'm glad we live in this world right now, though.
Hey,
It's
like I
interesting,
said,
right?
We're winning, man. We're winning. We're
All right.
winning.
You guys want to talk about anything else, or you want to wrap it up?
Katillist, you good?
I'm good. I got to piss like a motherfucker.
All right. Well, shout yourself out. Where can we find you, man?
Man, you can find me on every media outlet as far as podcasts go, except for Apple because they took me off, and I'm no longer on YouTube because they took me off as well. Soon to be on the Patriot podcast network on Roku.
Yeah, Roku.
Yeah, we're working on something. We'll see. We're gonna play that a little close to the chest, but for now. But everybody,
we'll announce that. We'll announce that when it comes out. But that is something that is in the works. And yeah, man, I just I'm on Instagram talking shit. That's like the best. If you want to follow me, like my podcast is cool and all, but my stories is really where it's at. So
yep,
definitely, man. It's awesome.
All right. Awesome. Doom Nation. Yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed. Skaggs, you got anything left?
No, man. Thank you for coming. I had a good time. You know, it's always interesting talking with you and the rest of the Patriot podcast crew. You know, we'll do it again, definitely.
Yes, we had an awesome time. Thank you, Katillist, for coming on, man.
We're
I really
this
appreciate
on YouTube too. Fuck YouTube. Let's see. This is a test, right?
All right, this is a test. Every time
happens.
a podcast tries to put me on YouTube, it fucking fails horribly. But
based on the,
we just become best friends. Yep.
Let's see. This will actually be an in episode test, right? Like we didn't really talk about anything, at least in my opinion, that violates some YouTube community guidelines, right? So we're gonna put this up on YouTube, and then we'll see going forward. We'll see what happens. So it'll be interesting to see.
All right, Doom Nation. Thank you, Katillist. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on, guys.
No problem. Later.